Our whole science class was in a hot, dense state when nearly 37 days ago we columns started. Wait. Ideas began to flow, the plant began to grow, grass started to show, we built a world, we built a bottle world. Math, science, history, unraveling the mystery that all started in Miss Curran's class.
Hi, I'm Dr. Julia.
And I'm Dr. Julia.
And together we make Dr. Julia Squared! Over the next 72 hours, you and I will be exploring the dynamic world of self-sustaining eco-columns.
And what's an eco-column, you ask?
Why, it's an ecosystem in only 4 soils!
Cool, I learned something.
And did you have fun while doing it?
I'll say, does an eco-column have all the same cycles as a normal ecosystem?
Of course, it has water cycle, nitrogen cycle, carbon cycle, and energy flow. Why are you waving a white flag?
I'm surrendering to fun.
Our first lesson is the water cycle.
Did you know?
The water cycle is a never-ending circle driven by the sun. First, the sun will heat up the top layer of the water to cause the water to evaporate up into the
Pick me.
atmosphere. Then the evaporated water will condense to form clouds in the
Pick me.
sky. Next, precipitation. When the clouds can't carry the amount of water anymore, and rain, snow, hail, or sleet fall to the ground. Precipitation leads to percolation. Percolation is the flow of water through the ground, especially soil. Next, runoff occurs when the precipitation from the clouds meets the Earth. It meets the Earth and flows back into the ocean. This makes the water cycle. Anyone rhymes with inu?
I know this one. Pick me.
Continue.
Lather, rinse, repeat.
Precipitation can be seen in our eco-column at the top of the terrestrial chamber and at the bottom of the ice chamber when water condenses and falls into the soil.
Percolation can be seen in our eco-column once the water droplets fall from the bottom of the ice chamber. The water will go to the soil and begin percolation.
Evaporation. Evaporated water will appear along the rim of the bottle. This evaporated water came from the water in the soil.
Hi, Sahana! Condensation. It is visible at the bottom of the ice chamber, and it is beginning precipitation.
Our second lesson is the carbon cycle.
Did you know
That everything uses carbon dioxide one way or another? The carbon cycle consists of photosynthesis and
Me.
Cellular respiration. Plants and autotrophs use carbon dioxide to make carbohydrates in photosynthesis. There is also use of water and solar energy. During cellular respiration, carbohydrates can be broken down by both autotrophs and heterotrophs using
Me.
oxygen. Water and carbon dioxide are the byproducts of cellular respiration. The role that decomposers play is releasing carbon dioxide once they break down organic compounds.
Lather, rinse, repeat!
The carbon cycle. In our eco-column, the insects release carbon dioxide. This carbon dioxide that is released is then taken in by plants to go through photosynthesis. As time goes on, insects and plants die. The decomposers found in our ecosystem, worms, fruit flies, and mold will consume these fossils and release carbon dioxide to restart the cycle.
The third lesson is the nitrogen cycle. Did you know that thanks to nitrogen, organisms can make nucleic acids and proteins?
In order for the cycle to run smoothly, nitrogen fixation must occur. Nitrogen fixation is converting the N2 gas, most of our atmosphere, into the most used form, nitrate. One way nitrogen fixation can be accomplished is through nitrogen-fixing bacteria. These bacteria can be found underground. The bacteria produce usable nitrogen with the carbohydrates supplied by the plants. The soil will receive any leftover nitrogen.
Lather, rinse, repeat!
The flow of nitrogen can be seen in our eco-column. There's nitrogen-fixing bacteria in the soil by our plant roots. This bacteria releases nitrogen into the soil and allows for nitrogen gas to be found in our terrestrial chamber.
The fourth lesson is energy flow.
Did you know that energy is related to food webs?
Energy flow. Related food chains that are in an ecosystem are called food webs. A food web is a diagram of all the feeding relationships, including all of the organisms in an ecosystem. Each group in the food chain affects all of the others.
In our eco-column, we have 3 consumers: the ladybugs, the fruit flies, and the betta fish. We have 2 producers: the grass and the plant. We have 2 decomposers: the worms and the fruit flies. The producers get their energy from the original source of energy, the sun. They later pass on their energy once they are consumed by the ladybugs and the fruit flies and the betta fish, otherwise known as the consumers. The decomposers then get their energy from the dead consumers. They will consume them and their leftover energy will be given to them. And then the cycle repeats.
The food web in our eco column is related to carrying capacity because there is a limit to how many organisms can survive with the number of resources available. Our food web in the eco column is related to limited resources. When our organisms began to die because of the lack of food, otherwise known as limited resources, this caused starvation and malnutrition. The food web in our eco column is related to overpopulation. When resources are not enough to provide for the mass population. Overpopulation is determined once a population exceeds the carrying capacity.
The 5th lesson is properties of H2O.
Did you know
That there are 3 properties of H2O?
The bonding force between 2 particles of substances that have different characteristics is known as adhesion. Cohesion is when an attractive force that contains molecules of only one substance together. The upward movement of water from plant roots to leaves because of hydrogen bonding is an example of cohesion.
the 5th lesson is niches?
Did you know that organisms don't take up all parts of their habitat at once?
An organism's niche is its unique way of living. It includes its environment, the conditions that it can handle, the resources that it uses, how it uses these resources, the number of offspring it has, its reproductive cycle, and
The different conditions that our decomposers, worms, can handle include moist soil. The worms use dead organisms as their resources and receive while they are decomposing in the soil. The different conditions our other decomposers, flies, can handle include moist plant-filled spaces. The flies use the dead organisms as their resource and receive these resources while they are decomposing in the soil.
The different conditions that our consumers, ladybugs and flies, can handle include humid, spacious air. Their resources for food include plants. The different conditions that our consumer, the fish, can handle include room temperature water and a constant supply of oxygen. Its resources are fruit flies that travel to it through the tubes. The flies can be consumed once they are trapped on the water.
The different conditions that the producers, grass and the plant, can handle include sunlight, moist soil, and oxygen. Their resources are sunlight, water, and soil. They can use these resources as long as they are available.
The next lesson is genetic variation.
Hey, did you know?
That genotypes and phenotypes are passed down to their offspring?
Genotype is the genetic form of the characteristics, specifically in the DNA strand. Phenotype are the physical traits. These are the traits that code for your physical appearance. Both genotype and phenotype are passed down to offspring.
There are many different phenotypes for ladybugs. Some of them are color or number of spots. The color can range from red to orange to 0 spots or 6 spots.
Fruit flies vary with eye color and size. Some flies had red eyes while others had black. The size of the flies range from being fairly small to pretty large.
The 8th lesson is biotic and abiotic factors.
Did you know?
They're both abiotic and biotic factors.
Examples of abiotic factors in our eco column include the following: the soil, the water in the aquatic chamber, the plastic walls, the PVC pipe. Examples of biotic factors include the following: the betta fish, the plant, the grass, the ladybugs, and the fruit flies. For more information, read our portfolio at
www.juliasquare.com.
juliasquare.com.